Throughout this course, you might have been thinking, wait, but what about mobile? Well, that's what this lesson is going to be all about. Now that you've made it to the last module, you're more than ready to take on designing a mobile screen yourself. But in this lesson, we're going to do it together just so you can see how I approach something like this and how I maintain a flexible component and style system throughout this process. At the end of the lesson, we're going to use Figma Mirror on our smartphone to actually preview what the site will look like in the real context. So let's dive in and design one of these pages. So I'm going to choose this product list page to design on mobile, and all I'm going to do is kind of bring this down so that we can look at it as we're designing. I'm going to hit F on my keyboard, and that will bring up the frame options. So for this, let's go iPhone 14, and we'll just call this mobile product list page, PLP. Okay, great. So working from top to bottom, we're going to need a header. And if you'll remember, we did make this header responsive, but that doesn't necessarily mean that it's ready for mobile. See what happens when we make it as small as it needs to be for mobile? That's not going to work. And as you know, on mobile, menus work a little bit differently. So I'm just going to pull out elements that we're going to want. So we definitely want this logo here. We definitely want the cart, and everything else can go in a hamburger menu. And I actually designed that off camera. So I'm just going to drag out a copy of another icon and switch that to menu. This is pretty good for our header. So now let's kind of put it together and we'll make it a component to use across all the other pages. So we can get rid of this for now, and we'll just take everything and frame it together. Cool. Turn on auto layout. Frame these together. And we'll give them 16 pixels between. Auto, which means that this will be responsive. We'll align them like this. And then let's do Option Command K to make this a component. We'll call this nav mobile. So we can just put this up with the rest of our components, or let's call this header mobile. Since that's what we named it here, header. Okay, cool. So I'm just gonna hit Command C to copy and Command V to paste. And then we can figure out kind of how we want to space this. So I'm just gonna drag it to take up the whole width. Then we can subtract 40 pixels to put 20 on each side. And then we'll just scooch it down 20 pixels. So now we have a nice padding here. So that should be good for the header. Now let's handle the background color. We want that to be off-white, just like our desktop versions. Now let's really look at this with a critical eye and figure out what makes sense for mobile and what doesn't. I actually don't think that I want to have a header image on the mobile because we really just want people to be able to get straight to the products, like above the fold, if you will. So I don't want someone to have to scroll really, really far to actually start seeing a product grid. So instead, I think I just want to have this title, All Fernie Chairs. So I'm just going to bring this over here, and obviously we can't see this, so we're going to make it off black, and it's huge. So we're going to make this smaller. We can look at our text styles and see what we think will work. I think H4 should be good for this. And again, we'll give it 20 pixels on each side. Okay, we'll play around with the positioning of this in a minute. Let's figure out all the other elements we're going to need. So we definitely want to know how many products are on the page. And I think I want to choose this smaller caption size for this, showing 112 products. And we also want to have some kind of navigation or breadcrumbs, as it's called, to show you where you are on this page. So I'm going to copy this text style, and right above here, I'm going to say furniture and then / chairs. And that will tell us that inside the category of furniture, we're in the subcategory of chairs. Or I guess inside, the whole site, which is all furniture, we're inside of chairs. I think that will really kind of help ground us. And you can always click here to go back and see all the furniture. But I also want to have some sort of like category feature here. But this is obviously going to take up way too much room. So let's do a drop down instead. So I'm going to grab this, and I'm actually going to detach it because we want to move the icon to the other side, and we'll make this a down arrow. This way it really looks like a drop down. And on mobile, I'm just going to make this icon a bit thinner. We'll do 1.5. And for the style of this, I think I want to do the same style as these. So let's turn off the stroke, turn on a fill. We'll do off black, but then we'll detach that so that we can make this just 5%. Okay, and then this is going to say shop by category. And then when you click on the drop down, you'll be able to see all of these options to choose from, and you'll be selected on chairs, of course. So that's good. We need another button because we definitely want to be able to sort. So we'll call this filter and sort, and we don't need the icon here. Just line that up. And I think I want this to take up the full width. So I'm just going to have 16 pixels between these. And I want instead of the content to be centered, I want to have that automatic gap so that the content is pinned to each side. I think that just looks more like a drop down. So that's looking pretty good. And now, of course, we also need the products. So let's grab a product from here, and we're going to need to detach it and create a new mobile version. So detach instance, let's start with the width. So I'm going to make it full width. I'm going to subtract 40 pixels because we definitely want 20 pixels on each side. I'm then going to subtract 16 more because we want a 16 pixel gutter between each one. We're going to do a 2-column grid. And then we're going to divide that by 2. Okay, perfect. And then we definitely don't need it to be that tall. Maybe like this. And then this is much, much too big. So I'm going to detach that. Well, let's see. Maybe we can do bold. Yeah, bold is good. And caption for this. And just have a little bit too much line height happening here. Okay. And now we can decrease the spacing here. Let's just do 8 pixels. And in between here, 4. That just feels a lot more comfortable for mobile. We can even make this a little bit shorter. I think 230 should work well for that. Yeah, now that I've checked and I feel like that looks good, I'm going to make this into a component. So we'll call this thumbnail mobile. And again, we'll just put this up here with our other components. Copy and paste in an instance. Okay, looking good. Now we can just do exactly what we did before with the desktop version, where we're going to frame these together, turn on auto layout and turn on wrap. And then once I set the parameters for the width of this, it's just going to paste them accordingly. So now I think 16 pixels between them that way is good, but I think we need more, maybe 24 pixels between them, between the rows. I think that looks better. Okay, now let's space this out better. So here, I think 40 pixels is good. Give that a little bit of headroom. And then maybe 12 here, 24 there, another 24 there, and 12 here. Okay, now I want to see what this is going to look like in its real context, which is on a smartphone. So I'm just going in and I've already downloaded the Figma app. And once you download the app, once you download that from the App Store, then you'll be able to log in to the same Figma account that you use on your desktop, and that will open up all of your files here on your phone. So now what I'm going to do is select on my canvas on my desktop this mobile PLP page, and I'll get a little notification come up from the bottom that says mirror, and it will show you exactly what screen you're on. So that is exactly what I did here, and that allows me to mirror that page right on my smartphone and really see what it looks like. And this is really helpful because it lets you see scale-wise, is this really going to work? Is the text readable? Are the buttons tappable? And all of that. When you're designing on a big screen in Figma on your desktop, it's really easy to get stuck in the weeds, zoom way in and think, oh yeah, like this works perfectly. The text is definitely big enough. So looking on your phone in the real context of where these will appear is super, super important. Feel free to design the rest of the Fernie site on mobile to get some more practice in and really round out this project. In the next lesson, I'm going to show you my favorite Figma plugins and how I get the most out of them.